Hey, what's up? It's Chris Taylor, middle class man. We're working this middle class, trying to make things grow. We're going to talk about today between day one and day two of how to buy $1 million business. Now, I've been working tirelessly the last couple days, week or so. So we're kind of backtracking a little bit, but I'm going to inform you kind of what the deal is and what I pitched to them. So today, all we're talking about is the price and how I came up with it and how we structured it. So day 1.5, it's actually happened on day one. The previous video, we talked about how I was structuring the deal, how it came about, how my business was established in Mobile, and how this one is in a different part of Alabama. So I haven't yet been able to share with you what it is, but here we go. All right, so before you go anywhere, if you would like and subscribe this video, like and subscribe to the channel, like this video, subscribe to it. If you've got somebody that loves business and that is interested maybe in this series, tell them to join in. Share with them the video. I'd love to be able to get more comments and get more feedback. I've got a lot of comments so far. Thank you so much for all the kind words and just the enthusiasm that you have for me. That helps me out a lot when going through this thing. It makes me really happy that I'm inspiring you. Even if I'm not inspiring you, even if I'm like, man, this dude's crazy, thank you for tuning in. So let's talk about the deal, I think, of a lifetime. Now, I actually met with my CPA yesterday, and we talked about this deal. We talked about the price. We talked about all the things. And I said that to her. I said, Denise, this is the deal of the century. I said, it's the deal of a lifetime. And then she was like, now, how many times have you really said that? And I told her, I said, look, I've never said that before. I'm really cautious when I say, they're good deals and they're bad deals. I previously had a deal, and I think that has set up this deal. And when I'm talking about deals, I'm talking about I previously had a deal with another company that I worked with, and we worked a long time. We worked alongside each other. We did some events together. I thought I was going to purchase that business. It didn't work out. It was okay. We're still good friends. They're great people. But this came about, and hey, we've just steamrolled to this point. And let's talk about the price of what I offered them. So the first thing I want to share with you is anytime that you are, even if you're talking about buying a car or buying a computer or buying something, a tractor or some type of equipment, I believe the first thing that you need to do is you need to get the price out of the way. It doesn't matter how good it is, and as long as you know what type of shape it's in. But let's say you look at a car and you understand that it's a good car, you understand that it runs good, you understand that it drives well, you check everything out. Look, you don't need to beat around the bush. You need to get into the price ASAP, because that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Even before you look at the car, I think you need to get into the price. So in this business opportunity, that was the first thing that we talked about on really day one. So the previous day one video that I shot, that this was going into that day, and I was getting prepared to go speak with the lady that I'm purchasing it from. And so this day was absolutely amazing. It was a great day to sit down and really dive into the things that I've learned from other business owners, that I've learned from books that I've read, and I'll share with some of those books in the upcoming videos. But these are things that I started to apply, and I got to see them work out. It was amazing. These things really work when you do them correctly. Like these business deals that people talk about that they're closing that are astronomical prices, and they're using these same techniques each time. Like these things work. And this was an opportunity for me to get to see something work for a big deal as well. So I sat down with her and we talked about just a couple things. And she asked me this question. She said, well, what's the first thing you want to talk about? What did I say? Price. So the first thing that I talked about was price. And so we sat down and we discussed this price structure. We talked about what the price was, in previous years when she thought she was going to sell it, and not necessarily offer it to anybody, but she really wanted to retire a couple years ago. And at that point, the business was doing really well, and it was doing about the same as it's doing now. But she was really enthusiastic about the business, but her husband wanted to retire. So she had an idea of selling the business and thinking that it was worth about $1.25 million. At that point, they kept on doing the business. COVID hit, brought it down a little bit. It's a party event rental business, so they mainly deal with events versus my business in Mobile that deals with backyard parties and events. So they got a big hit off COVID, and to her and to everyone that would look at this business, that year matters. Because for us, we actually had a better year than we did the previous year before COVID, and we continued that success onward to this year. For her, she just rebounded back to where she was before, which is great, but it does show that when things happen, like a pandemic, the business is not going to do as well. So you have to take into account those factors, and she did take into account that factor of the business not doing that well in that year, 2020. So just for numbers, and when I talk about buying this $1 million business, I'm not talking about buying a business for $1 million. All right, really what I'm talking about is buying a business that does $1 million a year. Gross revenue. And when we're talking about gross revenue, if we're going to break it down to the basics, that's every bit of money they take in on rentals. So they do $1 million plus per year on rentals. Now the average for that goes up and down depending on what it is. They do a lot of business with some universities. They do some business with event coordinators up there, and as well as backyard parties. So those prices go up and down, but the average is probably in the $500 or $600 range. So for $1 million, that's a lot of business in the party rental company. Just to give it in perspective, we've been doing business for about 6 years now. Our year 2021 will probably end over 400,000 gross. So we've had a good year. We've had a real good year. They've also had a good year. But when we talk about this million, it's gross revenue in a year. Now, look, I understand there's other businesses out there that do over $1 million. All right, that's as I'm understanding like business, as I grow, as I see other businesses, $1 million is not a lot of money. You may think so. You may say, Chris, you're crazy. $1 million is a whole lot of money. But when you break it down into some businesses, if you're only getting 5% profit off $1 million, then you're not making that much money. Even if you're making 15%, okay, we're only talking about $150,000. All right, that's not a lot of profit when you've got to work to get $1 million. In these businesses, in the party rental sphere, specter, however you want to say it, the deals and the percentages are about a third. So if you're making $1 million, your profit's going to be roughly $300,000 to $350,000. All right, depending on if you own the property, real estate, depending on what type of expenses you have. So that variable can even get up to 400. It can even get down to 300. But 300 is probably, the third is probably 3/10 of whatever the gross is. It's probably the bottom dollar. So we sat down. We talked about all that. We talked about how much revenue she's bringing in, about her payroll, but we didn't talk about all that until we got past the price. Like that was the main thing, was the price. We sat down and I said, what do you want for this business? Because if she said, I want $5 million, I'm not buying the business for $5 million. It's just not going to happen. It's not worth that. That's a crazy price. But in her mind, and a lot of times in people's minds, they think their businesses are worth a whole lot more. And they don't understand how a business is broken down. And I'm going to share with it in the next video, so make sure to tune in and subscribe, because I'm going to share a little bit about how you break down a business and how you get those earnings and how you can figure out how much the business is worth. But before we do that, before we skip on to the next video, she told me, she said, well, I want 1.25 million, as I said before, but after these years of COVID, after everything has happened, we're really wanting to have someone to take over and be successful. We do not want to hinder them. And so she offered me the business and for $750,000. So you say, okay, Chris, $750,000. You're about $1 million business. All right. So $750,000 is still a lot of money. Okay, but I want to preface with this. Okay, I am not buying this business with cash money. I do not have $750,000. So I want to share with you a little bit about what I pitched to them on day 2. So we're kind of moving from day 1.5 to day 2 on the price. So I want you to check out these slides. I'm going to pop up this first slide, and it's going to show you a little bit about what this is going to be. So this is a purchase agreement slide. The purchase price is $750,000. I pitched them 15 years. She really wanted 10. Now we found out that the SBA loan they have an SBA loan. So the SBA loan was for $150,000. There's a balance that balance is going to be taken off that $750,000. So let's just say it's $150,000 even. Say they didn't make any payments. That payment is taken off the ownership, and then there were no other loans. So we were talking about these things through these slides. So we got to figuring out, what the SBO loan was. She only made one payment, which was not a big deal, and then she said that she didn't have any other loans. So the next slide is the main slide that I really want to share with you, and trying to, maybe if you're buying businesses and if you're buying another business, this will give you a little bit of an idea of how I structured some options for her. She come forth and said that she would owner finance. So that's number one. She was willing to owner finance it. Number two, she was willing to owner finance it for 10 to 15 years. All right, we finally fell on 15 years, and she was okay with 15 years. Number three is she decided that that a down payment of about $50,000 is what she wanted. But she understood also that this is a seasonal business, and that there are things in this business, there are times that you're not going to make any money, especially up in the northern part of Alabama when it's a little colder. Months like December, January, February are extremely cold up there. Snow, so you're not going to do a lot of outside party events. You may do some weddings, you may do some event rentals, but you're not going to do a lot of backyard stuff. So the business is really small. So she understood that the payroll was going to have to be floated during that time and coming out of the pocket of whoever owns it. She didn't want to pay for it anymore. She was ready to sell. So she understood that an upfront cost would really hinder the growth of the business. So let's look at this. Let's look at this again. Purchase agreement options. I gave her 3 options. All right. So option 1, I'm gonna try to make it bigger on the screen. All right. Option 1, I said $750,000 down with a $50,000 down payment. The first down payment in January 1, which $25,000, and then another payment in November at the end of the season, which would be another $25,000. The assumed SBA of $550,000. Taking off the $750,000 brings the loan to $550,000. Now she did say she wanted a somewhat of an interest rate, so we landed on 2%, which is a really low interest rate and really good for both of us. It does get her a little bit extra money in the long run for being the bank, because she is the bank, but it also keeps my payments pretty low. So 15 years of 2%, and that monthly payment is a little over $3,500. So along with that, the SBA loan. And the SBA loan we figured out was a little less than $800. So with those 2 payments, with the SBA loan, that's over 30 years. Okay, so I have 30 years to pay back that SBA loan that she has for $150,000 for the business, and I have $550,000 after my down payments to pay over the 15 years. So my payments with the $4,500 and the roughly $800, we're looking at right around $4,300. $3,500 $3,500. I don't remember what I said. $3,500 and $800 comes out to right around $4,300 around there, because it's a little less than $800. So $4,300 a month is what I'm going to be paying for this business per month over the course of 15 years. And then after that 15 years, it'll knock down to that SBA loan, which is just $800. And there's no payoff penalty, so I have a chance to buy that. So that's option one. So let's look at option two. Option two, same purchase price, $750,000, but it's a little bit larger down payment of just $10,000, but it structures the down payment in 3 different down payments. The reason why I like this offer is because it gave me a low down payment offer at the beginning of the year in the off season. January is the off season. I'm not going to make this money back anytime soon. And when we're talking about anytime soon, I'm talking about 3 or 4 months down the road. So I'm not going to be able to get this money back. This is just money out of my pocket, and I'm going to be able to jump in January 1. So January 1, we have this payment of $10,000. We have a payment in May of $25,000 and another payment in November of $25,000. So same structure, SBA loan with $150,000. The loan is actually at $10,000 lower, and everything else is about the same. So it brings that monthly payment down to a little under $3,500. So we're around the same price, but it gives me an option to not pay that big down payment up front. So, and I say a big down payment, I mean, she wanted $50,000, and she agreed that we could split that up. So 25 on both sides is still good, but I wanted to see if I could get a little lower to make the deal a little bit more spicy and a little better for me. So, but also offered her a third deal. Third deal is this third option, a higher purchase price. Now you may be thinking, dude, what are you doing? You're giving her $850,000? Okay, let me just break down for you real quick the way this works out. Okay, now if you look down on this deal, you'll see a specific change in this deal. 2 specific changes. All right, look at this deal. One is the lower down payment. It's the $25,000 down in June 1st of 2022. Now this actually gives me the business without putting anything down, but it's a great opportunity if there's nothing down on this, but you have a higher purchase price. So with this, you have $25,000 down, you have the assumed SBA loan, and then you have a loan of $625,000 over 15 years at 0%. All right, so there's no interest charge on this, but you do get a higher price. But that monthly payment is a little bit higher at $3,750. Along with that other SBA, it would be a little over $4,500. So these are the 3 that I pitched to her. These are the 3 deals that we shared about, and she was to pick one of them. Now, she hasn't picked one of them yet, but this week we're going to sit down, and she said that she did not want option 3. She just didn't like it. She didn't like that it didn't have anything down. She didn't like that it didn't have any interest. She didn't really care about the purchase price, but she cared about the down payment a little bit more. So I'm going to share with you one quick thing, and then we're going to be done with this video. And this is important because this is what helps you close these deals and what is going to help me close this deal. You've got to find out what the business owner wants. Okay? You got to find out what the business owner wants. If they want upfront money, then you've got to provide them with upfront money. If they want interest, you've got to provide them with some type of interest. If they want a high purchase price, you've got to provide them with a high purchase price. But this is how you get it out of them without getting it out of them, without straight up telling them, tell me what you want. Now, I told her, I said, look, I want you to tell me what you want as far as price. And she said $750,000. But she didn't say, well, she didn't tell me how much she wanted down. She said, well, what can you put down? And so that's when I began to kind of break down where I was. And financially where I was, I really wanted to stay around the $50,000 mark. Even if it was to put down $50,000 cash, that's where I wanted to be. And you gotta you got to be truthful. You got to be open with them. If you can only put down $5,000, you can only put down $5,000. If you can only put down 1,000, you can only put down 1,000. Like, whatever your talks are, if she'd have said, hey, I want $150,000 down, the deal's over. I don't have $150,000. All right, unless I go, liquidate some things. All right, so once those deals come to fruition, and you see that, hey, that is in my sphere of affording it, then you can begin to break things down and you can start giving options. So that's what I did. Once I found out that what was important to her was that down payment and that interest rate, I was able to structure it. And so she is deciding on option 1 and 2, which is perfect either way. And I've told her I'll take either one, and we'll go with it. So option 1 or 2, we're going to go on one of those. We're going to find out hopefully when we meet with her tomorrow, and we're going to sign these papers and get this going. But this day 2, going back to it, that's what we talked about. The next up, day 3, we're going to be talking about assets and us evaluating what she really has. So I'll show you some pictures of some things that she had and talk to you about how I evaluated the assets, both on paper and in person. So check out the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share this video. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being inspired, and thank you for watching this video. We'll see you later. Middle Class Man out. See you.